Welcome to Business Online Playbook, a practical podcast for marketers, founders, and creative leaders building brands in the real world. Each episode breaks down how modern businesses actually grow online, what's working, what's changing, and what most people get wrong. Let's get into it.
So today I'm joined by Jordache Johnson, AI keynote speaker, transformation strategist, and creator of the ADAPT framework. Jordache works with companies that think they have an AI strategy, but they just really have AI subscriptions. His core beliefs: AI initiatives don't fail because the tech is bad. They fail because leaders underestimate the people side. He's on a mission to move us from being AI users to being AI builders. Let's get into it. Thank you for joining me, Jordache.
Man, Andrew, I'm excited to be here, man. Appreciate the invite.
Cool. Let's go at it. So let's be honest. How many companies say we're doing AI, but they're just playing with ChatGPT? I mean, what does fake AI adoption look like from the inside?
Yeah, man. And it's funny. I kind of put people into three buckets. Eco one, they're paralyzed by possibilities. They're like, hey, we're ready. We're at the starting line. And we just have no clue on what step to take first. Those are the fun ones because there's not a lot of unwinding that we need to do at that stage. Bucket number two is, hey, we bought all these tools. Hey, we have ChatGPT subscriptions. We have Copilot. And we're stuck in AI purgatory. We don't know what to do. Adoption's not moving. People aren't barely using it. Adoption numbers are going down every single month, and we're not seeing much ROI. And then the third one is, hey, we got some things moving. We got people using AI. We got some good wins internally, but we just don't know what's possible. We're kind of blind to what's possible. We don't know what's kind of next. And those are the people, those organizations are kind of the people I would say they kind of tap out at I call it the AI project level, but that's the, custom GPT, Claude project, Gemini, Gem. They still know I have a whole framework called the AI mastery ladder. And there's like 3 or 4 other steps they can move past that. So those are kind of the 3 buckets, but fake AI adoption, man, is treating AI like a technology or any other tool, saying, hey, we bought these licenses, we threw some training at it, go, good luck. And that's where they're kind of using it as a check the box exercise of saying, we got AI in our organization. We got our people the tools. We are an AI first company.
Yeah, if only there was a pill for fake AI adoption. You like to say you're not a user anymore. You're a builder.
Yeah.
What does a founder or CMO do differently this quarter if they actually believe that?
I've been in the game a while, right? And eventually you start shifting how you, this is going to sound corny, but like how you see the world, to be honest with you. And it's where like when I encounter a problem or I encounter a challenge or I encounter anything or an opportunity, like literally it's trained in my mind of saying, what AI tool, how do I use AI? What's the context? What's the data? What's the information I need to do to be able to spin something up to go do this? And, up until about last year, we were using AI to build these AI projects, or even, I say 2025 was the year of automations, N8N or Make or whatever. Everybody and their mom was talking about N8N automations. And, it was cool. Like you could string some things together, inject AI into workflows, create automations, but you really weren't building because it was still rule based, right? It's like, if X does Y, then I need Z, and I need it's just like in a very structured way. If you play around with AI long enough, you understand like AI is very good at unstructured, right? Not just structured. And towards the end of last year is when I really set some time aside and I was like, I'm just going to get good at building with AI. And I built a couple Python apps and a couple things back in, a year and a half before that. But I never took the whole vibe coding thing very seriously just because I just didn't have the time or the capacity to focus on that. And once I sat down and I kind of peeled back the onion on that, and the first couple were painful, right? Let's be honest with you. It was slow, it was moving, it was like molasses, and just kind of walking your way through the forest and at night with the stick. And eventually you get to the other side, and you're like, oh, well, dang, I built that. It works. I can log in. I can do it. Forgot Pat. Oh my gosh, it actually does what it's supposed to do, right? And then eventually you're like, okay, well, what else can I go build? And I got to the point where I was like, holy crap, like, how do I do this faster? It shouldn't be as painful as it was. And then I realized it was all, this is something this is something I was using when we were building Claude projects, 2 or 3 years ago. I always called the system before the system. Like, what is all the planning? What is all the document? What are all the stuff you do, the workup you do up front to make the actual process easier? So then I built a tool to help me do the system before I go actually build that. And I say all that because ever since then, it's like I literally open my computer, I encounter something. It's like, well, do I just go build that now? Can I go build it? I've built 9 software tools in the last really two took me about 2 months. The last 7 in about 28 days. I've built about 7 this tools internally for myself and my team. And so like now we're at the point where literally like I would never up until a year and a half ago, if you said, Jordache, are you a developer? I said, no, I know the dev talk. I've been around the dev world. I got friends that are developers. I understand a little HTML, CSS along the way, but I'm not a developer. I'm a builder, right? Because now if I understand the challenges, I understand the problems, I understand what I'm trying to solve, I understand the UX UI that I'm trying to get across. Now I know how I can actually go build my own tools. Like I've built my own CRM because there's certain CRMs that I just didn't, it was like I used 40% of this one or 30% of this one. It was like, it wasn't customized to my business. So going back to your question, like from a CMO standpoint, like the reality that it comes down to this is if you look at any job, it's a bundle of tasks, right? And there's a lot of tasks that your team are doing that are like, duct tape and barbed wire together, right? Whether that is a reporting dashboard, whether that is an onboarding sequence, whether that is a fulfillment of any form or fashion, whether that is content creation, right? Using Asana or Monday or whatever it is, trying to create a Kanban board to do this and capture all, like you can go build your own version of whatever works for you in your team, in your business. And you have the ability to do that as long as you know how to speak English. If you know how to speak English, you can go build a tool these days. So that's what I'm saying is like everybody's a builder, whether they realize it or not, and everybody's going to become a builder because now we can tackle problems. Like I used to have, like, if I look back at my career the last 15 years, there was probably 7, 8, maybe 9 app ideas or software ideas that I was like, oh, I wanted like, this would be good. I wish I could have this for myself. And then I'm like, well, I don't know Python. I don't know React. I don't know all these other coding languages. I don't got $50,000 to go hire a developer to go build me a beta to go see if this is even worthwhile. So it's like all those things were barriers for me to unlock another level of creativity in my mind. Now I have the systems and the workflows in place to say, well, what do I want to build next kind of thing, right? And that's where I say I'm a builder these days.
Yeah, the opportunity is just crazy these days for us to pursue.
It's insane.
We're out of excuses.
100%.
You've said that 70% of AI transformations fail because of people, not technology. What's the leadership behavior that quietly kills AI adoption?
I was just on the East Coast last week, gave 2 keynotes, and the big part of this was during my keynote and then after the conversation I had. These are all executives, or mostly executives in the room on this, or these events on the highest level. Number one is the culture. And what do I mean by that? And this isn't a fluffy kumbaya, everybody's rah, rah, rah around the thing, but it's, I came from the startup world, right? And where it was safe to experiment. It was safe to take risk, calculated risk in a sense. It was how fast can we fail and how do we fail forward kind of thing. And I think a lot of cultures, especially the larger the organizations are, they even may say that we love innovation. They may have the word innovation in their mission or their vision or something like that, but their culture says something totally different, right? When incentives are based off productivity or efficiencies, right? Where promotions are based off that, where they're only recognizing people who have successes or wins, quote unquote, in their organization, right? Where they're not, basically it's like keep your head down and just do your job kind of mentality, whether that's consciously or subconsciously. And so that culture is going to kill any sort of people wanting to experiment with AI, build a culture with AI, collaboration with AI or with other departments, etc. So if you don't have, and this is why I always say it's like you're building an AI first culture. It's not just the technology. We really have to change not only how we operate, how we think, how we work, how we communicate, how we basically are operating within an organization's culture to ensure that people have the feeling of feeling safe to use this technology, right? And it can be simple things like, we're going to recognize the person who did the most experiments this month. In the newsletter this month, we're going to talk about an AI experiment somebody did, but they failed, and talk about the learning lessons. Let's recognize them, give them a round of applause for even trying and thinking, what did they learn from that, right? Things like that. That's what you want to start having from a culture standpoint. So you have to get away from, I got to rerun an efficiency all day, every day, and productivity. And along those lines, you need to give your people dedicated time where it's not extra time, where it's time in their normal work day, if you want to think of it, where they can set aside time, 30 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever, an hour every week to experiment and to innovate, to go play, to be curious, right? So that's where like Google was infamous for this in the 2000s. They called it the Google 20% time, right? 3M actually coined it back in the 70s called 3M 15%. And that was basically, they say, gave their employees either 15% or 20% of the go work on go work on a project passion of theirs. And so that's the culture that leaders can start shifting how they operate and how they do their things. Now, personally, from a leader, this is, and there's a lot of data that backs this up. If your leadership, if your executive team is not using AI and they're not talking about how they're using AI, the goods, the wins, the failures, and they're not showing their people in their organization how they're using it and talking about it, people are not going to feel safe to use it. Because they're going to sit here and say, oh, this is a top-down initiative to get me to use it, to get me to replace me in my role or cut back my role, and you're going to let me go at some point in time when I train the AI process on how to do my job, right? That's what's going through your own people's minds. And so, like, I was literally on a call a little bit, just like 2 hours before this, and we were talking about with a potential client about how we're going to start doing some AI transformation with them. And we told them the first thing that we want to do is, outside of getting readiness assessments, is we're going to work with your executive team. We're going to get them using it first. We're going to talk about the specific ways that we can start getting them using it first, because these guys are the people that need to show to the rest of the team, hey, it's okay to use this. Hey, here's how we're using this. Hey, we're in this together mentality. And if your leaders aren't doing it first, it's going to be a tough sell to people further down the line.
I thought you were going to say we need to replace the leaders because they're more expensive. But
hey, that's above my pay grade.
We just promoted a team member of ours, shout out MK. She's our head of ops now. And part of that was process was telling her that she needs to start failing more, because she's not failing on stuff. She's not trying hard enough. And we wanted her to try new things and not play it safe and not wait till it's perfect, but get out there. It's like, when I'm doing sales, like I'm out there collecting no's. And if I'm not getting a lot more no's than I am yeses, I'm not doing a very good job.
You're leaving meat on the bones, man.
I'm leaving meat on the bone. That's right. So I got to get those no's out of the way so I can move on to the people that, can use our help and we can build a relationship with. And it's the same thing with AI. Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm an agency. If every agency and brand has access to the same AI tools, like, where does the real advantage come from? And don't say use it better. Like what does that actually mean?
Hey, just use it better. Just prompt better. All you gotta do is prompt better. No, I'm just joking. No, that's a great question, because that's the reality. Everybody has access to the same tools. Literally everybody. It's just, are you using them? And I will tell you this: the way I look at how companies, agencies can create moats around their products, their services. Especially if, like, when clients start talking about, well, I can just use AI, why do I need you, kind of thing, right? I would say there's two big buckets that you can focus on. One is your experience. If you have ChatGPT, I have ChatGPT, and we both say, hey, can you create me a marketing campaign with paid ads and organic as well as SEO strategy to launch this next campaign over the next 60 days? ChatGPT is a people pleaser. He's going to give us, or she's going to give us, whatever we want. They're going to give us an answer. If you have experience in launching and growing and scaling campaigns, but I maybe just getting started with it, maybe I ran Facebook ads here and there, you're going to know what's good and what's not good coming out of that, right? Like point blank, period.
Yeah. And
so, like, that's a huge advantage, but even more so, the intricacies of the actual process without AI. So what hooks are good. How we need to have a whole bunch of debate. All the intricacies of a workflow or process that the average person doesn't know, because they just know, well, here's the 5 steps I got to do to achieve that. That is huge knowledge that the AI is not going to have around that, right? Let alone the other side of the fence is your data. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you're an agency owner, you have access to a whole bunch of other clients' data on an aggregate that no one has access to. Right? No one has access to the same amount of data because no one has the exact same client base. And so there's data that I can extract out from other clients or across on a macro level for our agency that we can use to make decisions or set baselines, or to be able to leverage with AI with other clients, right? Or to be able to cross-pollinate ideas, right? Those are the unique moats that no one has access to, right? It's data and the knowledge and experience between your ears. Outside of that, we all have access to the same data, because here's going back to what I was saying before. It's the system before the system, and any AI tool, whether you're using just the chat, whether you're using a custom GPT, whether you're using AI automation, you're building your coding, or you're building an agent, at the end of the day, the stuff that happens before is what's actually going to set you up for success. I call it DICE, D-I-C-E, data, information, context, and examples. Those are your 4 buckets.
That's a t-shirt.
So it's a t-shirt. Roll the dice. What dice do you got, right? Like the real talk. Because if you have that, and you can have that structured, and you can have an easy way to capture that information, capture those examples, capture that data, capture that context, well, then I can create a workflow out of this. And then the real power comes into once you actually use AI, once you actually leverage it and the output comes out and you get results, how do I feed that back over here? It's a closed loop system. That's how it becomes intelligent. That's what you do with agents, right? That's where you got your learning loops. So for me, it's like that is the system for the system. So the people that are good at that and capturing that, using that, leveraging that, those are the people that are going to be ahead of the game.
You and Will Reynolds need to do a session together, because he talks about, he even has 15 years of ReadWise highlights that his team, when they're doing a proposal, will go to his thing so they can both challenge his ReadWise highlights as well as reinforce the proposal with things that he's actually thinks are important, and not just have an AI make stuff up.
And I'm telling you right now, Drew, like I'm about 4.5 weeks into setting. I've set up my own little personal agent right now for myself, right? That I'm building some things out that my team will eventually be able to access as well. And the amount of output that I've been able to do in the last 4.5 weeks, it was all set up from the data that I've been collecting and capturing over the last 2-3 years, because this is the same data that I was using to build Claude projects. This was the same stuff that I was building end-to-end automations for context, things like that. So like I have DICE folders in my Google Drive of transcripts of every call, of every keynote. I got all my articles I read, my highlights, my Kindle highlights. I got my second brain. I have my Notion. I have everything that I've that I create. Because the key is you have to get in the mindset of, I just got to capture everything. Everything needs to get to text form. Audio can get to text, video can get to text, text can get to text, voice can get to text. I need things in text. If I can get in text, I can go do some damage with it with LLMs. And what a lot of people don't realize is we've been generating gold mines of data ever since we've been running our business. Every call we've been on, client call, prospect call, sales call, every coaching call, every training we've done, every team huddle we've done, every Slack communication we've had, all that, every knowledge base, every SOP we've done, all that documentation, all that context, all that examples, all the content we've produced. Podcasts, YouTube, LinkedIn, emails. So like I even have something set up where whenever I send an email out to my list, one of my emails is set up just to capture my email. That's the only thing that goes to that inbox. What happens? Well, I got an automation that go ahead and turns that around and does that. I mean, so there's different ways you can capture. And then the other thing is I don't just capture my own data. I capture other people's data. I capture articles. I rewrite. Like there's trends and things like that. Research papers. There's books. I have books that I have a whole process of where I can extract out. Like don't just do a summary. Give me the frameworks, the methodologies, the best practices, things like that out of all my books. So like there's so much you can pull to be able to set yourself up for success. But you have to learn how to capture that data, that DICE, data, information, context, and examples, and you can do some good damage with it.
What's one workflow every marketing team should completely rebuild with AI in the next 6 to 12 months?
Onboarding.
Boom.
Their onboarding process.
Yeah, there it is.
Because here's the thing. It just literally goes back to what I was just talking about. How do I make it as easy as possible to capture as much information around from the client as possible to help me down the fulfillment? We can go focus on fulfillment, but we don't have the data, the context, examples around that client coming in an organized fashion, capturing that. It doesn't matter. And I can tell you right now, like my clients don't fill out onboarding forms. You know what they do? I have questions, but they record themselves talking and I transcribe it. Everything is audio. Everything is voice to text, because I want that voice vomit, we call it, right? I want everything, that the rumblings, the ramblings, all the stuff. I want it all. And people will filter out if they're filling out a form. So I'll revamp my whole onboarding to ensure that we are capturing the right information about them, their clients, who they serve, how they serve, the products, their services, whatever we're doing for them. So we can have that in a nice DICE reports. Is literally we call them DICE reports. And then from there, those are the foundational things that we use within LLMs to help us fulfill their work. So onboarding 100% 101.
3 years from now, what are we doing in marketing today that's going to look embarrassingly outdated?
Talking to a chat or an AI model in a chat window. Like that's archaic. Like, think about it. Like, we are literally using a chat bot. Like, we were doing the think of Facebook Messenger 7 years ago. That was a new hot thing 7 years ago when we could build bots and messenger bots and mini chat, right? Like that like we could do some good damage till they neutered that, right? Because people were spamming the heck out of that, right? But like that's gonna look like y'all actually used to type and talk to these AI tools through a chat window. Silly humans. So that's how I look at that. And now what is that going to look like? I think, even I can start seeing some of the trends, even as I've been focused on building my own little personal agent, on open source software right now. It's like, it just like opened up a whole nother world to me of seeing like what is possible with me being able to truly connect everything. Like I'll tell you right now, like I have, like my agent right now, we have like almost 600, almost 700, I'm 684 right now files of memory just from conversations we've had in the last 32 days. Like then there's semantic search built on top of that using Google Gemini's model, right? Like he doesn't forget anything, right? Like that's where I'm like, I'm literally just having a conversation with him when I'm brainstorming. I'm coming up with ideas. He's like, we're working on him to get a little bit more autonomous and things like that. But like, that's where it's like, I start seeing in 2 or 3 years, like we are truly orchestrators where we're just like having conversations and it's being captured. The dots are getting connected and we're operating in a very efficient fashion in our business. But us as humans, we're not the bottleneck of decision points, or we're not the bottleneck of communication breakdowns. We're not the bottleneck of, team dynamics, etc. So, yeah, I think that we're going to get away from the chat, the interface of the chat window. I think when ChatGPT dropped, it was a great interface because everybody's used to and familiar with it, and it made it less intimidating. But it's archaic if you actually think about how inefficient it is to use in any sort of workflows, especially when we're talking about agentic workflows.
I live in the mountains, and I have a Pixel 10 Pro, and the voice recorder has AI on board, so it can transcribe for me even when I don't have a cell signal. And when I drive up and down the mountain, it's about 40 minutes where I have a cell signal, maybe half the way, and it's probably LTE. And so the ability for me to just talk to my phone and have it, not only record what I'm saying, but actually make a real-time transcript that I can then just upload that into a workflow when I get to the bottom and tell it to figure out what I want is priceless. And it's a very simple feature, but to be able to do that, when I'm somewhere where I have no cell signal, to be able to talk to the AI and have it take a transcript like it was a voice recorder, but it's on my phone, so I have it with me all the time. I mean, I look like a crazy person, but it's very useful.
And I'll tell you right now, like this was probably about a year and a half ago. I used, because I have an iPhone, I have the little the iPhone shortcut, and I built an automation behind it where I could just use my voice memo app that was built on my iPhone. Because I used to just walk around when I do my morning walks, just walking in the mornings, I would just talk to myself, but then it'd be stuck in the voice recorder where now I just had one button click. It would kick off an N8N automation that would do the transcription, put it in Google Drive, organize it, analyze it, put it in my Notion by the time I got back to my desk. But now, like exactly what you just said, it takes me about 45 minutes. I live on the north suburbs of Houston to get downtown. So if I'm driving downtown, I don't listen to podcasts. I don't listen to music in the car. I literally just have conversations and I'm talking, I'm brainstorming. I'm thinking like it's just so much like, and it takes a little to get used to like just being able to like let ideas flow and to have those conversations. And the quicker you do it, like it's weird. Like I rarely even type on my keyboard now when I'm talking. I'm literally just voice to text because it is so much easier for me just to speak it out, and the AI can make sense of all my random thoughts and my, random things that go through my mind.
I'm a CEO listening to this, and my team says, yeah, we're good on AI. Like, what question should I ask them that will immediately reveal whether that's true?
Right. So there's a couple things I would think about here. There's a couple things at play here, I would say. I would challenge them, and this is where like in my world, how I hear it is, well, ChatGPT knows me. I can't leave ChatGPT. Like I know how to use ChatGPT, and I'm like, oh, that's
we're
cute,
friends, man.
right?
We're friends. We have a relationship.
Right. And so here's the thing, like this is where the CEO needs to have some AI literacy to understand that, like, hey, it's beyond just talking to a chat bot or having a custom GPT or whatever, Gemini Gem. And it's like, well, let's move up the ladder. How can we automate some of the stuff with AI? How about you build an app for us to solve one of the problems we're talking about? How about you look into an AI agent that could potentially run locally for us, right? Like that's where I would start challenging and thought and to see how well they could actually achieve some of those tasks, right? And it's literally like how I treat like my agent is like, I tell you what my goal is. I want you to go figure out how to go solve that goal. Like I'm not going to tell you I'm not going to tell you go do this task, do this task, do this. It's like, here's what we're looking to achieve. Here's my goal. Here's some constraints around it. Good luck. Come back when you're done. Right. I would ask very similar questions to my team about that to see kind of where they are at with that. With along the mastery ladder is what I'd call it. Number two, I would start having them say, okay, well, great. Teach somebody else how to use AI in the best use case that you're using it. Or how about you go to another department and identify use cases where AI could come solve problems in another department, right? Because where that skill set comes into play is I'm not just focused on, I know how to use ChatGPT in my own workflow. It's, hey, here's a problem. I understand what the capabilities are and the constraints are from ChatGPT or a custom GPT or an automation. Here's a problem. I know how to go solve that problem with AI, right? So that's where I would be challenged. I would just give them challenges like that to say, let's step outside your box of how you typically use ChatGPT and see how you do. And then you'll uncover very quickly there's more than what meets the eye when it comes to this is because, you just get comfortable with saying, I know how to ChatGPT because I use it every day in these 3 workflows in my job every day. And that's where people get comfortable. You know what I call it? I call it the false mastery. It's false mastery at that level. It's a plateau because you bet you're skilling up. You're like, oh, I got this. I used my custom GPTs doing what it's supposed to do. I get results. It knows me. It sounds like me. I got it working. I'm good. I can sit back and ride the AI wave because I know everything I need to know about it. And you're like, and then all of a sudden you look up. You're like, I'm maybe 2 steps up this mountain, and we're not even at the first base camp yet when it comes to that because there's so much more you just don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a subset of the Dunning-Kruger, equation.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Final question: is AI going to eliminate mediocre agencies and marketers, or do you think it's going to empower them?
It depends on it depends on how good people get with the AI. Because here, let's be honest with you, like AI, if you don't have skills, it's going to make you good. If you have skills, you have the experience, it's going to make you a superhero. And that's just the point blank period with it, right? So I think people are going to get results for people that may have not been able to get results in the past or consistently get results. Because that's always the other thing with agencies. It's like, just because you catch lightning in the bottle, can you do it month after month after month after month for me? So that's one. But I don't think that. I think there's always going to be the people that have the knowledge and that experience and that's just the access to data that we talked about earlier and ways that they're going to always push the envelope. Like look at Will's always him and his agencies always pushing the envelope of doing their own studies and their own testing and all their own things, especially around the SEO side of things. So it's like, you're always going to have those people, but at the end of the day, like one, they may not be able to take on clients and they can't take all the clients, and two, there's going to be people that can't afford them what they do because they're at a higher level, right? So there's always going to be a place for people that know how to use AI as long as they can get results, because that's what I think we're going to be moving more into. And it really, and I would actually even add on top of this is it also comes down to the sophistication level of the customer. And as the customer becomes more and more sophisticated of what are they capable of doing with AI, and what are they actually able to and leverage AI for to be able to actually get results for themselves or their team, the agency better be able to do more than what their team can do, or there's no need for the agency, right? So they're like those mediocre agencies are they're real competitors, not your agency or Will's agency that are going to be AI first. It is the clients that can, they're employees that can leverage AI and can get the results just like you. Can you add more value on top of that? If not, there's no reason for them to hire those agencies. But that's what I'm saying. It's up to the agency owner.
I just love it when people lead with their like, I tried this and it seemed really smart and I failed, and
Right.
I'm being owned by this low rent sleazy stuff, but that's not going to last. And I learned so much, and I'm going to power through this, and I'm going to get better.
Exactly. And here's the reality that comes down to this is like, people are always like, there's always like, when it comes to the AI game, like it's changing so much. You and I both know that, right? and there's always something new coming out, right? And at some point, someone's going to be ahead of you because they jumped on something new before you, right? And I got caught into that whirlwind about 2 years ago, where I felt like I had to be on the latest and greatest model, always single time, had to be able to be the first one to talk about this or talking, and eventually I'm like, look, man, like, I'm not in that game. Like, my goal with these people is get people results, or like, I got workflows literally still running automations. They're on Sonnet 4.0. I don't need the latest and greatest because it's just a simple workflow. Like, it does what it's supposed to do. I don't need to go upgrade everything right that, right? So, but my point being is, like, I'm very methodical of, like, where am I going to invest my time? Just kind of like I was telling about, like, with coding with agents. How long was vibe coding was a thing for a year and a half before I even jumped into it. But once I jumped into it, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I can actually see, like, I can see what I need to do. I can see the structure. I can see the system before the system. I can see I'm a lot more educated on how to leverage that. Like, I wouldn't, like, if I would have jumped on it a year and a half ago, I would have been fumbling that ball so dang much trying to figure that out, because I didn't have the skill sets and the experience on how to truly navigate a technology at that level, right? Or in that perspective. It's the same thing as I'm dealing with these open source agents and these agents that I'm building right now. It's like all these skills I've been building up from when I was just in the chat bot to when I was building custom projects or Claude projects to when I was building all those skills compound. And as this technology evolves, you look at it a little bit differently. So that's why I always tell people, like, the learning curve gets steeper and steeper when you stop learning. But as long as you're experimenting, as long as you're pushing, as long as you're learning, you don't have to be in the lead, but things are going to move a lot less or a lot faster for you as this technology evolves, because you've built a foundation and a knowledge base of how to think about the tools, frameworks, principles. We're not talking about features and tactics here. We're talking like foundational things that it changes how you think and how you communicate, how you interact, and how, like, what kind of information I need to start collecting to be able to feed these models. Like, that's why I always tell people I'm tool agnostic. I got skills. I can do damage with any tool you want to put out there, because I understand the principles and the frameworks and the knowledge and the foundations that I know to go get results with that stuff. So that's where we want to get people to, not, well, I know how to go build a custom GPT. I click here, click here, click here, click here, upload documents. I'm good. I'm like, okay, great. Well, explain to me what's happening when you're doing all that. If you can't explain that, if you don't understand that, how are you going to go do that in Gemini Gems when the button moved over here or it's called something different, right? That's that false mastery still at that level I like to talk about. So.
Yeah, done beats perfect every time. You've been an awesome guest. I really appreciate your time. Is there anything we didn't cover that you feel that people need to know?
Oh, man. Just we covered a lot. I would say this, man, like, you really just have to embrace, and this goes back to your question earlier around leadership, with the culture that we were talking about. And this is something from an individual standpoint. You literally just have to embrace your curiosity and your experiment mindset. And it sounds easier said than done, but it's literally like, how do I, and this is like, if I go back and I remember the first tool that I built a Python, a Telegram bot using Python. And it was interacting. I needed something to interact with the blockchain for me to be notifying me when something was happening. I was like, yeah, I'm sure somebody could, but I was like, this is a perfect opportunity for me to just go see what I can do with AI to see if I can get that working. And literally the first question I was asking I was like, yo, what's Visual Studio Code? Like, how do I get that? Where do I download that at? Right? Like, what is Python? How do I open up this file? What is, like, I didn't know anything about this. Like, I was literally, and this is before vibe code. This was me and this chat GPT in a chat window, just having this conversation. And I say that because now, like, in my life, both my business life as well as my personal life, I'm always looking for projects. Just give me something, just to give me a reason to go work on, to see how AI could potentially solve that. And I might fail miserably. It may never get done. It may never, but it's like, and I'm telling you, I've done this enough times where I'm like, oh, that actually worked. And then next thing you know, like 3 months later, it's like, remember that one project I was working on? There's that one thing. I know what this actually means now. I can bring it over to this new project. I can move fast because I was able to pick it up. I understand what Docker is. I know how to navigate in Docker and set up containers in Docker now, right? Like, that's like little things like that. Like, so my point being is just always be on the lookout for projects. And what do I mean by projects? Of, that's a problem, or I need to solve this, or I'm challenged by this, and say, okay, great. Let's just sit down, open up Perplexity or ChatGPT or Claude and say, here's my problem. I need your help solving this step by step. How can we solve this? And just go through that process and see what happens. You might be surprised.
I'm here for this, Jordache. Thank you so much for showing up. You've been a great guest, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon, bud.
That's it for this episode of Business Online Playbook. If this was useful, share it with someone building a brand online. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.